discover my wife's secret past. And it changed everything. Stay tuned for the entire story. And if you're into wild real-life drama, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm 28F, and it took me far too long to realize my parents were, and still are, extremely controlling and emotionally harmful toward me. My mother spent my whole life shaping me into someone she herself wished to become. I was treated as an extension of her, while my father did nothing to stop it. He was either absent from my life or simply didn't care about what she was doing with us, the kids. My mother was a bored housewife who decided to live her dreams through me. She made me attend music school alongside primary school, leaving me no time to form friendships or do the things other kids usually do. I was too busy juggling two schools, always studying or practicing an instrument I disliked. I cried and begged her not to enroll me, but my wishes didn't matter. She had always wanted to play music herself, but never got the chance, so I was the one who had to do it. She told me, "You'll thank me later." I ended up spending 6 years there, disliking every moment and even experiencing emotional mistreatment from one of my teachers during one-on-one lessons. I was forced to perform in public without anyone asking if I was comfortable with it. I had no close friends, gained weight, and was teased for being a nerd until I finished primary school. In my country, students can choose their high school based on skills and career interests. But I never got that choice. My parents had already decided for me. They picked a challenging academic school meant to prepare me for university. For them, there was no option of me pursuing anything else. At that time, I had an undiagnosed chronic illness that affected my memory and focus. I spent all my time studying just to keep up. I never had a romantic relationship or a steady friend group. The friends I did have went out often, but I was the only one with a strict curfew. Even the rare times I went out, my parents would constantly call me to come home. I couldn't leave the house without telling them exactly where I was going and with whom. When I was 15, there was a tragic loss in my family, and my mental health took a severe turn for the worse. I was already struggling emotionally, but I didn't understand why. My mother took me to therapy in secret because my father believed that therapy was unnecessary and would have stopped me from going. After each session, my mom would ask, "Okay, are you done with this now?" As if deep grief, anxiety, and fear could simply disappear after a couple of meetings. I think she quickly lost interest in taking me. I only went once every 2 weeks, and it didn't seem to matter to her whether I was improving. By the time I was 16 to 17, my parents were having constant arguments, with my mom accusing my dad of being unfaithful. Their fights were so intense that I often had to physically step in to stop them. They never divorced, but the tension never went away. They still resent each other to this day. My mom also placed me in the role of her emotional confidant, sharing all her personal problems and expecting me to help her solve them when I was just a teenager dealing with my own struggles. The things she told me are impossible to forget, and I carried that emotional weight for her, almost like I was taking the place of a partner she never had. All this time, it never occurred to me that I was allowed to make my own decisions. My entire life had been shaped to fulfill my mother's ambitions, and I never questioned it. I just did what was expected of me, like following orders. I started college and realized during my first year that it wasn't right for me, but I couldn't even clearly form that thought. I just felt something was wrong. I failed the same year twice, experienced severe burnout, and by the age of 20, I developed serious chronic health issues. I was finally diagnosed with certain conditions and put on medication, but it wasn't enough. I've been struggling with ongoing physical and emotional symptoms ever since. During this time, I kept going in and out of therapy, always in secret, but I never felt any real improvement. At 23, I was diagnosed with agoraphobia and panic attacks, which I still experience, even more so now. While in college, I decided I would finish my bachelor's degree to keep my mother satisfied, then stop studying to figure out what I truly wanted. When I told her, the answer was a firm no. In her mind, my education wouldn't be complete without a master's degree. She even told me not to attend my first graduation because, in her words, we'll celebrate the real diploma later. I had no life outside of school, no romantic relationship, and no close circle of friends. My routine was just eating a little, sleeping, going to classes, and existing without joy. I knew if I stopped, my parents would make my life extremely difficult, so I gave up on my own goals just to keep the peace. My health problems caused significant weight gain, and I was constantly tired. In my 20s, my father's attitude toward me changed. He became obsessed with commenting on my appearance and pressuring me to lose weight. He criticized me for spending time at home playing video games and tried to force me to go on daily walks with him, even though I didn't want to. It felt invasive and hurtful. My parents controlled every part of my life they could, trying to make me live according to their rules. No matter what I did, they weren't satisfied, always criticizing, never caring about what I wanted. Now, at 28, I still live with them. I earned my master's degree and felt nothing. I am unemployed. I have a boyfriend I met online who lives in another country, and I haven't seen him in over a year because of my parents. The only times we've met in person were when I came up with excuses about where I was going, and he visited me in a rented place here. Keeping this a secret felt exhausting and wrong, even though I wasn't doing anything bad. My parents don't know about him because they have very rigid ideas about what kind of partner is acceptable for us, their children. If someone doesn't fit their vision, they won't approve. My dad even tried to arrange for me to meet someone without telling me, as though it were a setup. And this is in a European country where that's not even a tradition. I'm afraid they would try to break us apart. So I keep my relationship private. We've been together for over 2 years now, and I feel completely stuck about what to do next. I have severe agoraphobia and haven't left my house in almost a year. My anxiety and health problems keep getting worse, but I can't get proper treatment because my condition makes it extremely difficult to go outside. Most of my mental health struggles are connected to my parents. I feel trapped in my own home, like I can't breathe in my own life. They don't acknowledge that I've been physically unwell for nearly a decade. They act as if I'm just avoiding responsibility. They constantly push me to get a job. I try to avoid them as much as possible, but whenever we interact, they make me feel small and talk as if I'm wasting my life and have no value, that I have no idea what to do now. For people who might suggest that I should just move out, it's not that simple. My agoraphobia is so severe that even stepping outside my front door can trigger intense panic. I haven't gone outdoors at all. The stress I feel at home affects my sleep, leaving me exhausted and physically weak. Moving would already be stressful under normal circumstances, but with no support, no income, and multiple health issues, it feels overwhelming. I've even been advised to apply for disability. I want to move out with my boyfriend, who lives in another country, but we still need to figure out how to make that possible long term. The amount of uncertainty and pressure makes me feel like my mind can't rest. I've been deeply depressed and can't decide on anything, whether to tell my parents about my relationship, whether to take the huge risk of moving, or how to handle the possibility of even more conflict and stress. Just thinking about it all makes my anxiety spike. So I end up living the same day on repeat, unsure of what my first step should be. I desperately need some form of guidance, advice, or even just a starting point because right now I feel completely lost. Update. The truth finally came out. It's been a few weeks since everything happened, and honestly, I feel like I've lived an entire lifetime in that short amount of time. When I last updated, I was still trying to make sense of everything, trying to keep my emotions in check, trying to stay logical. But life doesn't always give you the luxury of processing things slowly. Sometimes it just keeps throwing curveballs until you either collapse or decide to swing back. After our last conversation, I didn't reach out to my wife immediately. She was still staying at her sister's place, and every time I thought about calling her, I'd get this heavy feeling in my chest. It wasn't anger anymore, it was exhaustion. I had spent so much time over the years trusting her, believing in us, that now even the thought of speaking to her felt like walking barefoot over broken glass. But then about 5 days ago, I got a text from her. No long message, no explanation, just, "Can we talk? Please." We met in a small cafe near the park. She looked different, not in a dramatic way, but like someone who had been carrying too much weight for too long. I could tell she hadn't been sleeping well. She started talking almost immediately, like she had been rehearsing this conversation in her head. She admitted that what I suspected was true. There had been something between her and her old friend. She swore it never went further than emotional closeness, but I've learned enough to know that sometimes emotional betrayal cuts deeper than anything physical. I listened without interrupting because I needed to hear the full story from her perspective. She said she'd been feeling disconnected from me for months, and instead of talking to me about it, she found comfort in someone who made her feel seen. I wanted to ask her how she thought I felt all this time, but I bit my tongue. The truth was, I already knew because I had been feeling unseen for just as long. Here's the twist, though. When I pressed her for details, she finally admitted that her sister knew about this friendship the entire time and encouraged her to keep talking to him because it's not like you're doing anything wrong. That hit me harder than her actual confession. Her sister has always been close to me, and now I realize that all those family dinners, all those conversations, were just layers of lies. Since then, I've been thinking about what I want. We haven't officially decided on divorce yet, but I've moved into a small rental apartment across town. It's not much, but it's mine, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe without waiting for the next blow. Last night, though, something happened that shook me again. I was coming home from work when I saw my wife waiting outside my building. She said she wanted to show me something. She pulled out her phone and it showed me a long message from the friend she had been confiding in. Apparently, he had started asking her for money and threatening to tell me everything if she didn't help him. That's when it clicked. He had been playing her this entire time. She was in tears, saying she realized too late how badly she had been manipulated. Part of me wanted to comfort her, but another part of me couldn't forget that she chose to let him into our lives in the first place. We ended the night with no resolution. She still says she loves me and wants to fix things, but trust doesn't grow back overnight. Right now, I'm focusing on myself, getting my routines back, reconnecting with friends I lost touch with, and trying to figure out what I truly want from life moving forward. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes the person who betrays you is also the person who ends up needing you the most, and deciding whether to walk away or stay. That's the hardest part of all. Thanks for sticking with me this far. Tell me in the comments how you'd handle this situation. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot more stories on the way.